Hello everybody and happy Friday. It's Andrea Chapman over at Sewspire.com. Today I am going to teach you how to make a patchwork mini binder cover. This is a 1-inch mini binder that's a great size. I use mine as a planner, and I organize our busy life inside of there. I bought the binder and the inserts at Walmart, and you can pick that up there as well, I'm sure. Our cover is going to have a little bit different styling than this one, but it's still going to be adorable. On the table here, I have all of my pieces cut out. If you go to the blog or Sewspire.com, under Inspired Project number 1, you will find the material list and the exact measurements for each of the pieces. So the very first step here is going to be to use our fabric piecing skill number, I think that was skill number 1, and this is project number 1. How perfect. Okay, so we're going to use skill number 1 to attach these 3 squares together, and the way that we do that is by aligning the squares right sides together and then just stitching down one edge, and I'm going to reverse stitch at the beginning and the end to secure the stitch in place. Today I'm working on my Janome DC 2012, and it does have a foot pedal. Sometimes you'll see me sewing on a machine that does not have a foot pedal. So remember, with the fabric piecing, we're lining the fabric up right at the edge of the foot, which according to my guides here looks like it's a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I reverse stitched at the front and the back, and that secured my fabric panels together. That's what the back looks like. I'm going to take the next piece and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up the edges nice and even and start up at the top, go to the bottom, and reverse stitch at both the beginning and the end. Alright, now I have created a long panel with the yellow in the center, and I'm going to go over to my iron real quick and just press those seams flat. And then I'm going to take the smallest or the narrowest long piece that we have and position that right sides together with this panel that I just created. And I'm going to stitch from end to end, reinforcing at the beginning and the end with a back stitch. Same thing, lining the fabric up right with the edge of the sewing foot. And now my panel is growing. I'm going to press that seam down. And the next piece we have is the widest rectangle, and that's going to go along the edge where the 3 squares are. Lining that up, and I'm going to stitch from end to end, reinforcing at the beginning and the end. Press down that seam. It's coming along very nicely, getting larger. And then we have one more rectangle, which we're going to attach to the larger piece. End to end. One large patchwork panel, which is going to become the front of our binder cover. Now we have to create the pockets. And for the pockets, you're going to have 4 pieces that are the same. Got all 4 pieces here. Same measurement, long rectangles. And you're going to sew 2 of them right sides together from the longest ends, reinforcing at the beginning and the end. That creates a bigger panel. You're just going to fold this right sides out right on the seam that you just created and press it down because it's going to become a pocket. So press that nice and flat. I'm going to do the same thing with the other piece. So I'm putting the right sides together and I'm stitching down the one of the long ends, reinforcing at the beginning and the end with the back stitch. And fold it with the right sides out and then just press that down to create our second pocket. So now I have my front panel complete and my 2 pockets, and you have one more larger rectangle which you're going to position atop a piece of batting that is the same size. And then you're going to take one of your pockets and position that to the right and the other pocket to the left. And if you like, you can pin those pockets in place closer towards the inside edge so you don't stitch the needles. But I'm just going to create a sandwich here and put my beautiful patchwork panel right side down. And then I will put a pin in each corner. And then we're going to stitch down one long end, down one short end, and back across the bottom. You're going to reinforce at the beginning and at the end, and you're going to line your foot up right with the edge of the fabric. Now when you get to the edge, I like to stop with the needle in the down position and then just lift up the foot and pivot the project and then put the foot back down. So the needle was in the fabric and it was holding that in place. So I maintain that consistent seam allowance. That also keeps me from having to back stitch there because I did not break the thread. Just about to run out, so this is a great opportunity for me to show you what you do. So I have an eye on that. I see there's a little bit of thread left, so I'm going to go ahead and stop where I am, which is right in the middle of finishing this, and reverse stitch to lock in that stitch. I take my project off, got my empty bobbin spool, pop that on the bobbin holder, unthread, and I like to start off with a clean cut that goes up through the little hole, and it's around this little silver screw. Pop that back on, engage the bobbin. I hold the thread very tight, and then once it gets going, I snip that thread just at the top. You heard that distinct change in tone from the machine. That means that the bobbin's done winding, and I can visually confirm that because it's full. Disengage the bobbin. Woo! Don't be throwing your scissors around like that. That, my friends, is a lesson why you sew with shoes on. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Woo! Lose a toe. I could have used my thread cutter, but it's a little dull, so it doesn't give me a nice clean end there. So I'm going to put the bobbin back in. Got my faceplate, or my bobbin cover rather, and then rethread the machine down, up, through the eye hole, and through the needle. This machine also has a needle threader. I don't use it, I figure as long as my eyes work, I am threading that needle. Okay, got it. And I am back, ready to go. You will remember that I taught you when you first start off with a new bobbin, you should do a little tester stitch, right? Just to make sure everything's happy so you don't ruin your project. And sure enough, you always get a little scribble scrabble up there. That's why we do that. So now my machine is happy again, and I want to realign that exactly where I was. So I'm going to come back a little bit into the stitching. Then I'm going to put my needle down directly on top of that original line of stitching. And I'm going to go forward and then reverse stitch. And then I can continue on. Approaching the end. Once I get to the end, I'm going to reverse stitch to secure the stitch. And we are almost done, guys. So you can see how that looks. I'm stitched all the way around, 3 sides, and there you go from the front. And I have my one short end is open. So I'm going to remove the pins. And then to reduce the bulk, I like to come around and trim very close to the stitch. If I were even guessing, I would say that's 1/8 of an inch from that stitch line that I'm trimming. You just want to make sure that you don't cut your stitch line, because then you're going to have a hole in your project. I could use a new pair of scissors. Somebody in my house came in there and used these to like cut metal or something. There's like all these digs out of it. Nobody will confess, so. I remember my grandma labeled her scissors sewing shears. That's what they call them, shears. And boy, would you be in trouble if you touched her sewing shears. I should probably do that here, or hide them, right? Okay. So now I have this great, nice, tidy package. I have removed my pins because I don't want to be poked. If you put any pins on the inside, reach in there and get them out before you turn this around. So it's kind of like a pillowcase now, and I'm poking out those corners. And while I'm doing this, I'm looking around to make sure that I didn't accidentally miss anything. Sometimes the fabric will shift and you might have a little hole. Now is the time, if you find that there's a mistake or a little hole or you missed something, go back, just flip it back around and fix that now, because you can still save your project. So as it stands, I have 2 pockets on one side and my beautiful patchwork panel on the other side. I'm going to take this open end here and I'm going to flip that pocket around so that it is now on the front. So the other side looks like this with just one pocket. And I'm going to line that up so it lays nice and flat, and then I'm going to stitch from this end to this end and stitch that close. I'm reinforcing at the beginning and the end. extra edge, which I'm going to trim up again about 1/8 of an inch from the stitch line. And then I'm going to reach in to this pocket and flip it around. Now how fast is that? Even with winding the bobbin, ladies, we're talking about 20 minutes or less, and you got an amazing gift, right? Like, amazing. You could go ahead and get the binder cover and the inserts for that and give it to somebody who's headed off to college, somebody got a new job, planning their wedding. Like, this is just so special. It really is. So let's see how it fits, shall we? I'm going to take off my cover here. It's so pretty. And I always slip in one edge at a time. Flip that over. And slip in the other edge. Can you see that into the pocket? Gorgeous. It'd just make a great journal too if you just wanted to put lined paper in it. You could create one and make it your sewing journal about this great adventure. So I hope you had fun. I sure did. I hope you learned something. And if you would, be a dear and please share this video on social media. I would really appreciate it, because remember, my mission is to teach 10,000 women how to sew, and I'm trying to do that in a year or less, so I definitely need your help. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend.